Well, I just found out how big of a Ponzi scheme Social Security is, so I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I do want to address something before I get into the main subject of this video, so please hang in there, especially to the new viewers who don't really understand my video structure yet. So as you can see, I've started in on the demolition of the truck camper. For those who are new, Carolyn and I lived in that truck camper for about 3 years as we traveled the country. We had a camper, but it got burned down in the national forest, so we built this down at my dad's house, put it on the back of the truck. It weighed like 225 pounds or something. Made it out 2x2s and glue on, and then eventually we put some coroplast on it. Well, I've put too much weight in it. Batteries, I had 8 batteries in there on the cab over, and it started sagging. It wasn't designed for that kind of weight. We actually took this off the truck. I built a base for it. We lived in it while we built the tiny camper. This thing has been a champ. I know a lot of people don't like it. I really don't care. It protected us for a long time. I'm very proud of it. I know about a half a dozen trolls are gonna say, clean up the mess. It's terrible at your place. Your neighbors are gonna really hate you. It's called demolition. That's what happens during demolition. You may remember, some of the folks have been with me a long time, this place was a disaster area when we moved in. But it's much cleaner now. The reason we're tearing this down, like I said, it was starting to sag and different issues with it. But we moved the solar panels up so we'd get a few more hours of sunlight during the day. But we knew as soon as fall hit, it would start blocking the sun. The camper would start blocking the sun to the solar panels. So that was another reason to take it down. I gotta get that inverter out of there. It has done a lot of things. It's been a storage shed and a home. It's actually been a chicken coop. So last year I was telling you how big of a pain it was to try to get Carolyn's Social Security. We've been working on it forever. Well, she just had her 62nd birthday last month. Well, about a month and a half ago now. So we're rejuvenated, I guess. I guess you could call it procrastinated, or time just got away from us. I mean, it's not like we've stopped working on it, but we've been trying to get Social Security forever. And I know the people in the comment section, all you got to do is get online. Well, apparently you are a privileged people, because we've gotten online. Now, the first problem is we don't have regular internet. Now, for some reason, Carolyn's phone cuts out every now and then and loses 4G. My phone doesn't seem to have a problem with that. She's had 3 different phones, and all 3 of them have done it. We have the same service, the tower, same tower, everything. She would mess with it for a few minutes, and then it'd cut out on her, and it'd tell her to write down a number and come back later, so she did. I don't know how many times she tried that. Eventually, like today, we finally got on my computer that I use to edit videos. It's not even a computer, it's a Windows tablet. Very low powered. And we were able to have some success today, but we also got this government shutdown coming, so that needs to be talked about also as a result of Social Security. I know when I say this, I haven't said it for years, Carolyn doesn't drive. She has directional dyslexia. She also has social anxiety. So when she drives, she gets turned around, which in itself isn't a big deal. You do what you need to do. But even if she had Google telling her which way to go, it's quite possible it would say turn right and she would turn left. Or it would say turn right and she'd be looking for a road on the left and it's not there. Well, again, not a huge issue. A lot of people have directional dyslexia, can cope with it and still drive. Her problem is she has anxiety, social anxiety. So when there's cars around her and she has made a mistake and she's hitting the brakes trying to figure out where she's going, what she's doing, she all of a sudden gets anxiety. And now you got a double dimity, and it's just not safe for her to drive with those kind of conditions. And I know people just seem to think, oh, that's terrible. You have broken the social contract not driving. Well, I don't see what the big deal is. She has always managed to get a taxi, and she's done that for a long time, get a bus. So she did that when she lived in the city. She walked to work for many years. Well, the point of what I'm trying to make here is, so she doesn't have a driver's license. She has photo ID, a state photo ID. So one of the things that send your ID in and we'll mail it back to you. Well, boy, that was just nerve-wracking. They did, and they denied her claim. Here's one of the issues we have. We don't have a printer. We live off-grid in a tiny house. And I know people seem to think, oh, you should get a printer. And so I'll say, well, I don't want to, we use a printer maybe once a year, maybe. So we have to run to the library. So there's a 40-mile trip. We went to the library and printed off the application because we were having so much trouble online. Again, not in a big hurry. We had a year. That's when she started working on it. She sent the application in with her ID and it was declined. Who knew to check for the expiration on a photo ID? I mean, I can understand expiration on a driver's license, but why do you need an expiration on a photo ID? Does your ID change? Anyway, it expired. We didn't pay any attention to it. So now we have to get her a new ID. Ta-da! That's a nightmare. Trying to figure out what you got to have to do what with and trying to keep it all organized. All the while you have a cell phone that keeps cutting out on your tablet that's so low powered, takes forever for anything to load. So eventually we decided we needed Carolyn's birth certificate. Well, you got to remember a few years ago, all our documents burned up in the camper. The only thing she had was that ID. So we got to get a new birth certificate. At least that's what we thought. Well, after more research and more frustration, we realized, no, we need an old W-2 or tax form or whatever you call those. Again, another government form, and she needed a bank statement. That's great. So we go to the license office, and I got my phone with all her information on it. We walk into the little iPad they have on the wall so you can check in. Right above the iPad it says, all paperwork has to be in paper form. Oh man. So we just wasted a trip. We start heading off to the library. This was on a Friday, was closed on Fridays. It's open on Saturday. So there was a wasted 40-mile trip. It was absolutely wasted. Now, you may know that I don't like driving that much. The older I get, the less I like to drive. The doctor's blinded my eye. I told you that a while back. So, yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel as safe as I used to. So I try to avoid it. We try to do as many things in town as possible to limit our trips. And I haven't changed the oil. I've talked about this before. Some people are going to disagree. No, you need to change it every 6 months. But I only change my oil when the little indicator tells me it needs to be changed. I had a mechanic tell me that, so I'm quite comfortable with it. So eventually we make it back to the library to print off these papers. So now we have the documentation that she needs to get her ID. Well, a while back, I told Carolyn, well, see if you can at least log into this website. I'm not doing everything in order in this video. I've lost track of everything. So she tried to log in, and they had to mail her a confirmation number through the U.S. Postal Service. The webpage told her it was going to be, I think, 4 to 6 weeks before she got that number. But the email said 1 to 2 weeks. So we had no idea how long to wait. And I've told you the horror stories with our mailman before, so I wasn't even sure we'd ever get it. Well, the webpage was right. 4 to 6 weeks. I think it took 4 weeks to get. So now we can get on the website. But before we did that, we thought, well, we better get her Social Security card. So I don't know, sometime this week, we tried to get her Social Security card. And remember, everything was burned up in that fire. So what's going on now? The government shutdown. The government shutdown says that they'll still pay you Social Security if you've already applied. But if you haven't applied, you're not going to get your Social Security card, or they're not going to process your Social Security claim. The thing is I know a lot of people seem to think that we're lazy around here and that we need to get a job and go back to work. Carolyn worked her entire life. Like I said, she struggled through life. I'm really glad I can ease her pain in life. She doesn't spend a lot of money, which is a big deal. And she doesn't spend a lot of money because she's been through a lot of pain in life. But that being said, I can support her, take care of her. And I don't want to say that. That's not what I'm trying to say. I don't support her. I just want to ease her pain. So if I can make some money off YouTube and take care of her, fine. And so when she started filing for all this Social Security and it became such a pain, I told her, well, don't worry about it. No, she wants her own money. And the thing is, and somebody's going to say, well, isn't your money her money? Yes, it is. She can have all the money she wants. I mean, I would rather that she didn't spend us broke or into debt, and she doesn't. When her son came and her son wanted a camper, It wasn't the camper I wanted, but she wanted it, so we got it. It wasn't even a discussion. I called the guy up. I think actually I Facebook messaged him. And I said, okay, I'll be over tomorrow, look at it. We looked at it, it didn't leak, so we bought it. I know a lot of people are gonna say negative things about how we should conduct our lives, but Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. I know people who has worked very few days or years in their life and get big bucks through disability and different things. And I mean, I'm talking big bucks, but Carolyn didn't get very much at all, according to the website. She's disappointed. She worked so hard her life. She never had the big rich paying jobs. This is what's frustrating. It's a Ponzi scheme. She didn't have the big rich paying jobs. Now, everybody's gonna say she should have waited until she was 67. Well, if she doesn't live to 67, then she doesn't get any money, and that is a massive Ponzi scheme. So you have folks taking money from Social Security that have paid very little or none into it. It's my understanding the first woman to collect Social Security never paid a dime. So we're asking for the youngest generation to pay for the current generation. That just doesn't work. When you look at me and Carolyn, we're the X-Gen, we're just below baby boomers. And the X-Gen didn't have the huge population of people. It's much smaller than the baby boomers. And if I'm not mistaken, I looked it up years ago, I think it's a 4-to-1 ratio. There were 4 baby boomers to 1 X-Gen. Now, the next generation came in, and they're just as big as the baby boomers, but half of those people don't work. Social Security is gonna fail. We know it's gonna fail. And there are some pretty solid numbers saying it's gonna fail in the 2030s. Well, that's when I start collecting it. So I've already decided I'm not gonna get any Social Security. And as long as I can stay on social media, it's not a big deal for me. I can make enough money on YouTube or whatever to get along. But Carolyn really wanted this money. She really wanted it just so she could have something of her own, I guess. I mean, I don't know what it is. Heck, maybe she wants to leave me. I even said, are you leaving me? Now we have to get her a checking account. Now, like I said, she shares a checking account with me. She has an ATM card. She can do whatever she wants with the money. But my checking account is a pretty good distance away. I did that on purpose. It's a credit union. I like the credit union. Back when I was using credit cards, it had a nice credit card. I still have it. I never use it. I just like being in that credit union, so that's why I don't give it up. Also, my YouTube money goes into that credit union. And it's a nightmare trying to change anything for YouTube, as far as I mean, can you imagine? You go in there and you change your banking account number or your tax number or whatever, your tax address, and you mess it up. Can you imagine trying to get a hold of somebody at Google to fix it? It ain't happening. So I don't want to mess with it too much. Just let the money go in there. So we want to get her a checking account, but of course we still got to get her an ID. So we got to go back and get the ID now that we have the documents printed from the library. It's been a big nightmare. And I know people will tell me, all you got to do is this, or all you got to do is that. Well, heck, I've had people tell me that you can get your money in the mail. Except when you go online and it says, how do you want to get your money? There's only one option. Checking account. You have to have a checking account. We actually thought you could get like some sort of debit card from the Social Security Administration where they just refilled it, but apparently not. I regret that we didn't get the checking account before we did the online thing today. And we're not even sure that the online thing is going to work. Let me explain. Carolyn's got a twin sister. Her twin sister just filed, and she ran into some problems and had to come up with a birth certificate. We got all the paperwork filled out for the birth certificate, but we still haven't gotten it. So if we run into some problem where they call her and say, hey, you got to have this document, it'll be weeks before we can get it. And the thing is it says we have to have everything done, I think by March or May of next year. Otherwise, somebody's going to say, oh no, that's not true. This is what's so confusing about it. You may say it's not true, but what I read says that she'll lose it if she doesn't get this done by March or May, whatever it is. So this is another reason we live off grid. Try to avoid this stuff as much as possible. The thing about Social Security is you paid into it. It's your money. It's not my money. I won't get it. But if you get it now, or if you can get it before 2030s, only if you're in the privileged class where you haven't worked your entire life or you made a lot of money. But if you're somewhere in between where you worked your hindsight off, scrimping to get by in life, you're not going to get any money from that. It's just they take it and give it to everybody else. And they know that you won't complain. So if you click this up next box, take you to the video where I was talking about they took our off-grid equipment without a warrant. So if I can inspire you, well, if you want, get away from government institutions so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.